Chaos is everywhere. A delayed flight, a rude coworker, an unexpected argument that ruins your entire day. One moment you're fine, the next you're spiraling. But let me ask you this, who is really in control? You or the world around you? Most people live like puppets, yanked by external events, reacting without thinking. Anger, frustration, anxiety, they own you. A single comment from a stranger, a minor inconvenience, and suddenly your peace is shattered. Why? Because no one ever taught you how to train your mind. The truth? Calmness is not a personality trait. It's a skill. A trained mind doesn't panic. It doesn't lash out. It stays in control, always. The Stoics knew this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he remained unshaken. Epictetus was a slave, yet no one could break him. They mastered their minds, and so can you. Today we're going deep, not just theory, but real, actionable steps to master your emotions, sharpen your focus, and reclaim your power. Because the world will never stop testing you. But from now on, you won't flinch. If you've ever lost control over something small, tell me in the comments. What triggered you? How did you react? Let's break this cycle, starting now. 1. Master your mind before it masters you. A single moment can change everything. One wrong word, one impulsive decision, one emotional outburst, and suddenly your entire reality shifts. Most people don't control their minds control them. They react without thinking. They let emotions dictate their actions, anger, fear, anxiety, all-consuming, all-powerful. And then, regret. Damage that can't be undone. You've felt it. The frustration boils when someone cuts you off in traffic. The resentment when a colleague takes credit for your work. The burning anger after a careless comment. Your mind races, your emotions flare, and before you know it, you've lost control. Why does this happen? Because an untrained mind is like a wild horse, unpredictable, reckless, dangerous. It moves on instinct, driven by fear, driven by survival. And if you don't tame it, it will throw you off course, again and again. Marcus Aurelius knew this well. He ruled an empire under constant war, betrayal, and chaos. But did he break? No, because he understood one thing. You have power over your mind, not external events. Realize this and you will find strength. Think about that. Not external events, not what happens to you, not what people say, not the unexpected storms of life. Just your mind. That's what you control. Everything you face in life, every challenge, every setback, is either something you control or something that controls you. There is no third option. You either train your mind or you live as its prisoner. Michael didn't know this. He thought life was happening to him, that he was just reacting to the world around him, powerless to change. That his stress, his frustration, his anxiety, it was all because of external circumstances, until the day everything collapsed. He was 43, a husband, a father, a man with responsibilities, bills, expectations. He had spent years chasing stability, but life never seemed to cooperate. His job was demanding, his boss was impossible, and his personal life was a never-ending list of things to fix. Then one morning, the breaking point. A stressful work deadline, a car that refused to start, and an argument with his wife over something trivial. The pressure had been building for months, but this was too much. Something inside him snapped. He lashed out. Words spilled out, sharp, cold, irreversible. His wife, stunned, walked away, his kids silent. And as he stood there, breathing heavily, he realized something. This wasn't the first time. This was a pattern. Michael thought his problems were external, his boss, his finances, his daily struggles. But the real problem? His mind was untrained. He was reacting, not thinking, and every reaction was costing him. His relationships, his peace, his power. He needed to change. Not his job, not his family, not the world, himself. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, but instead of running for cover, you stand still. You don't panic. You don't flinch. You observe. The wind howls, the rain pours, but inside, you are untouchable. This is what a trained mind feels like. It doesn't mean you don't feel emotions. It means emotions don't dictate your actions. It means when someone insults you, you don't take the bait. When life tests you, you don't break. Look around. Most people live like leaves in the wind, a slight breeze and they're blown in every direction. Someone criticizes them, they spiral into self-doubt. A problem arises, they crumble under pressure. They have no control. But a Stoic, a trained mind, they are the mountain. Unmoved, unshaken, that's the goal. Not to suppress emotions, but to master them. to pause before reacting, to separate thought from impulse, to recognize in every moment that you are in control, not the world around you. So how do you get there? It starts with awareness. The next time frustration rises, pause. Observe your mind like an outsider watching a storm. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Most of the time it isn't. When someone angers you, realize this. Their words have no power unless you give it to them. When life feels overwhelming, remind yourself, the external world does not control your internal state unless you allow it. And when things go wrong, as they always will, remember, the real battlefield is not out there. It's in here. You are either the master of your mind or its slave. The choice is yours. 2. Anger is a trap, not a solution. Anger feels powerful. It surges through you like a firestorm, making you feel in control. But here's the truth. Anger doesn't give you power. It takes it away. In that heated moment, you believe you're asserting yourself. You're standing up. You're fighting back. But what's really happening? You're handing over control. You're letting someone else decide how you feel, how you react, how you live. A single outburst can destroy years of trust. One reckless reaction can cost you a career, a relationship, or a reputation built over decades. Yet most people don't stop to think before they explode. They justify it. They pushed me too far. I had no choice. But you always have a choice. Think about the last time you lost your temper. Did it solve the problem? Did it make people respect you more? Or did it make things worse? When someone provokes you, they expect a reaction. They want you to lose control. But what happens when you don't? When you remain still, unaffected? They become powerless. They throw their anger at you, expecting it to ignite a fire, and instead, it falls into silence. Epictetus understood this deeply. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. If someone disrespects you, insults you, or challenges you, their words are just air. They have no meaning until you choose to give them weight. Let me tell you a story of someone I know. He used to be known as the short-tempered guy, the one who always had to prove a point, always had to win. If a coworker spoke over him in a meeting, he made sure to speak louder. If someone cut him off on the road, he would chase them down, proving he wasn't the one to mess with. It was exhausting. Every argument drained him. Every confrontation left him angrier than before. But he believed this was strength. Being tough. Being respected. Until one day, he saw exactly what his anger had built. Nothing. A close friend, someone he had known for years, stopped talking to him. No explanation, just distance. When he finally confronted him, the friend sighed and said, "You don't listen, you just react." That sentence hit harder than any insult. He realized he had spent his whole life being defensive, not thinking, just reacting. Every conversation was a battlefield, every disagreement a war to be won. And what had he gained? A reputation of being difficult. People walked on eggshells around him, not out of respect, but out of exhaustion. It was the wake-up call he needed. He made a decision. From now on, no one would control his emotions but him. No more arguing just to prove a point, no more chasing conflict. He would train himself to pause, to breathe, to detach from the chaos around him and stay centered. At first, it was uncomfortable. The urge to fight back was strong, but then something changed. He started noticing how often people let anger control them, how predictable it was, how easy it was to manipulate. When he stayed calm in the face of hostility, it unnerved others. It shifted the power back into his hands. One day at work, someone publicly criticized his idea during a presentation. In the past, he would have fired back instantly, but instead, he paused. He looked at the person and simply said, "That's an interesting perspective." The room went silent. The person who had criticized him expected a fight, but instead, he got nothing. No reaction, no validation for his attack. He fumbled, trying to explain himself. And in that moment, he realized who was actually in control. Imagine holding a burning coal in your hand. The tighter you grip it, the more it burns you. That's what anger does. You think you're punishing the other person, but in reality, you're the one getting hurt. Now imagine setting that coal down, stepping away from it, watching the fire die out without taking the burn yourself. That is self-mastery. Most people never learn this. They cling to their anger, thinking it makes them strong, but true power is in restraint. Anyone can yell, anyone can throw punches, slam doors, send impulsive messages. That takes no skill. But the person who can stand in the middle of chaos, unaffected, that person controls everything. This is why patience is strength, not passivity, not weakness, but the ability to remain unshaken while others lose control. Because the moment you stop being predictable, you become untouchable. Next time someone tries to provoke you, remember this. You don't have to play their game. You can walk away. You can let them burn themselves out while you stay calm, collected, in control. A trained mind is like an unshakable mountain. No storm can move it. No insult can break it. And no one, not a single person, can make you lose yourself unless you let them. 3. True strength is found in stillness. A roaring storm looks powerful, but it destroys everything in its path. A steady mountain, silent and immovable, withstands it all. Which one would you rather be? Most people mistake volume for strength. They think the loudest voice wins. The most aggressive stance commands respect. But true power is never in noise. It's in control, in stillness. In moments of chaos, when others panic, the strongest person in the room is the one who remains calm. The one who listens while others yell. The one who pauses while others rush to react. The one who thinks when everyone else is consumed by emotion. This is what separates a leader from a follower. The person who controls themselves controls the situation. Stillness is not weakness, it's the highest form of control. I knew someone who used to believe the opposite. To him, being quiet meant being passive. Being patient meant being weak. So he made sure to always be the loudest in the room. In meetings, he interrupted. In arguments, he overpowered. In conflicts, he escalated. And at first, it worked. People listened. People backed down. But what he didn't see was the slow destruction happening around him. Co-workers stopped seeking his advice. Friends stopped confiding in him. His reputation grew, but not as a leader, as someone to avoid. Then came the day he lost the most important conversation of his life. A close friend sat across from him, exhausted. "You never stop to listen," he said. "You think being right is the same as being respected." That was the moment everything changed. He had been so focused on winning arguments that he had lost sight of what truly mattered. Understanding, influence, control. So he tried something new. The next time he felt the urge to interrupt, he stopped. When someone criticized him, he didn't fire back. He let the silence stretch. He observed. He listened. And what happened? People leaned in. They paid attention. His words carried more weight, not because he was louder, but because he spoke less. His presence commanded respect, not his volume. Picture a chessboard. The most powerful player is not the one who moves first, or the one who makes the most aggressive plays. It's the one who sees 3 moves ahead. The one who waits. The one who allows their opponent to expose themselves before striking. Now, think about how most people handle conflict. They react instantly. They raise their voices. They demand to be heard. They move impulsively, and in doing so, they become predictable. Easy to manipulate, easy to control. But the person who can pause, the one who does not let emotion dictate their response, that person controls the board. When you stay calm, you become unreadable. When you don't react, you gain the upper hand. When you master stillness, you make others uncomfortable because they don't know what you're thinking. So how do you practice this? First, recognize that the loudest person is rarely the most powerful. In a heated discussion, hold your words for an extra 3 seconds. Observe how the other person reacts. Watch them fill the silence, expose their emotions, reveal their weaknesses. Second, when you feel the urge to argue, redirect your focus. Instead of defending yourself, study the person in front of you. Why are they reacting this way? What do they really want? When you detach emotionally, you see the bigger picture. And third, remember this. Control is not about domination. It's about choice. You choose when to speak. You choose when to engage. You choose how to respond. Power is not about proving you're right. It's about ensuring you never lose control. The next time someone tries to provoke you, don't react. Don't give them what they expect. Stay still, watch them unravel. Because true strength isn't found in force, it's found in restraint. 4. Self-control is always a choice. Most people don't realize this, but every emotional reaction you have, anger, frustration, anxiety, is a choice. It might not feel like it. It might feel automatic. But if you stop and think, you'll see the truth. No one can force you to be angry. No one can make you panic. No one can take away your peace, unless you let them. Yet most people go through life reacting to everything around them. Someone cuts them off in traffic, and they explode in rage. A rude coworker makes a comment, and they stew over it for hours. A small inconvenience happens, and their entire day is ruined. They've trained themselves to lose control. But here's the secret. Self-control is a skill. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. And once you develop it, you become unstoppable. Epictetus said, "It is not enough to be hit or insulted to be harmed. You must believe that you are being harmed." Read that again. Someone can insult you, someone can try to offend you, but unless you believe their words matter, they mean nothing. They are empty. Think about how much power this gives you. Imagine if no one could make you angry. Imagine if nothing could shake your inner peace. That is what true self-mastery looks like. I once knew someone who had everything: money, status, influence. But he had no self-control. If a deal didn't go his way, he lashed out at his employees. If his wife made a comment he didn't like, he turned cold for days. If a minor inconvenience happened, something as small as a delayed flight, his entire mood collapsed. People walked on eggshells around him, not out of respect, but out of fear. He thought his reactions made him powerful. But in reality, he was the weakest person in the room, because anyone could control him. A bad day could ruin him. A single word could send him into a downward spiral. That's not power. That's slavery, and he didn't even realize it. Contrast that with another man I knew. He had less money, less status, but he had something far more valuable: complete control over himself. I remember seeing him in a high-pressure negotiation. The other party was trying to provoke him, testing his patience, waiting for him to react emotionally, but he didn't. He sat there, calm, listening. He let them talk, let them waste their energy. And when he finally spoke, his words carried weight. Because he wasn't emotional, he wasn't reacting, he was thinking. And in the end, he walked away with the deal on his terms. This is what self-control does. It makes you unpredictable. It makes you untouchable. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind is howling, the rain is pouring, everyone around you is running, panicking, shouting, but you stand still. You are calm, unmoved. That's what a trained mind looks like. Most people, when faced with chaos, do the opposite. They let external events dictate their internal state. Someone yells at them, they yell back. A problem arises, they stress out. They react without thinking. But the moment you learn to pause, to take a breath before responding, you reclaim your power. Think about two people in the same situation. One gets stuck in traffic, running late for a meeting. He pounds the steering wheel, honks, curses under his breath. By the time he arrives, he's flustered, anxious, and already defeated. His mind is still in the car, still in frustration mode. And now he performs poorly. The bad mood follows him. The second person, same traffic, same delay, but instead of fighting reality, he breathes. He reminds himself, I can't control the traffic, but I can control myself. He uses the time to prepare mentally. He listens to something that sharpens his mind. And when he finally arrives, he's focused, composed, and in control. Same situation. Two completely different outcomes. The difference? One let circumstances control him. The other chose self-control. This applies to everything in life. In business, the leader who stays calm under pressure is the one who earns respect. In relationships, the person who doesn't let small things bother them is the one who builds deeper connections. In daily life, the individual who refuses to be controlled by emotions is the one who wins. Because emotions are like waves. They come, they go. But you are the ocean. The waves don't define you. You remain steady no matter how high or low they rise. And once you understand this, everything changes. When someone tries to provoke you, you won't engage because you see their trap for what it is. When life throws challenges at you, you won't panic because you know that you control your response. Try this. The next time you feel yourself losing control, stop just for 1 second. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Most of the time, the answer will be no. And when that happens, you'll feel something incredible. Freedom. Because the moment you stop being a slave to your emotions, you become truly untouchable. 5. Let go of yesterday. Stop fearing tomorrow. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack. Inside, there are two things: every mistake you've ever made and every fear of what could go wrong in the future. Now picture yourself walking through life with that weight pressing down on you. How far do you think you'll go? Most people live exactly like this, trapped in a cycle of regret and anxiety. Regret over past failures, fear of future uncertainties, never present, never free. The past is a dead weight. You can analyze it, learn from it, but you cannot rewrite it. Yet people replay old conversations, dwell on missed opportunities, punish themselves for mistakes long gone. They carry burdens that serve no purpose. Why? Because the mind craves control, and when it can't control the past, it fixates on it. When it can't predict the future, it obsesses over it. And in doing so, it forgets the only thing that truly exists, the present moment. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not let your mind be enslaved by what is already past or distracted by what is yet to come." Pain doesn't come from what happened. It comes from your attachment to what happened. Anxiety doesn't come from the future. It comes from your desire to control what hasn't even arrived. You've seen this before. The person who never moves on from a breakup. The employee who keeps replaying one career mistake. The student who lets a single failure define their potential. They're stuck in a reality that no longer exists. And then there's the other extreme, the ones paralyzed by what might happen. They hesitate to make decisions. They fear failure before they even try. They live in a prison built by their own imagination. Both types suffer the same problem. They are not living. Imagine standing on a moving walkway at an airport. Your job is simple, walk forward. But instead, you keep turning around, trying to walk backward. What happens? You struggle. You lose balance. You make no progress. This is what happens when you dwell on the past. The world keeps moving, but you refuse to move with it. Now imagine you're walking, but constantly looking too far ahead, trying to anticipate every step, fearing every possible obstacle. What happens? You trip. You misstep. You miss what's right in front of you. That's what happens when you're consumed by the future. You don't live in it. You only sabotage the present. The solution? Let go. Let go of what you cannot change. Let go of what hasn't happened yet. And bring your mind back to where your feet are, because that's the only place you have power. That's the only moment that matters. But letting go is not just about mindset, it's about action. A man once told me he wasted years regretting a single decision. He walked away from an opportunity, thinking another one would come. It didn't. And instead of moving forward, he let that regret define him. Every time he tried something new, that same voice whispered, "Remember what you lost." And so he did nothing. One day, he woke up and realized he had lost more time regretting than he ever lost making the wrong decision. That's how regret traps you. It makes you believe the past still has power over you. It doesn't. But here's the real danger. Fear of the future does the exact same thing. I knew someone else who always planned but never acted. Always preparing, never executing. She wanted to start a business but kept waiting for the perfect time. Years passed. The fear of failure paralyzed her, until one day she looked back and realized she had spent more time fearing failure than she ever would have spent fixing her mistakes. Most people live in one of these prisons, chained to the past or paralyzed by the future. But here's what the Stoics understood. You can't change the past, you can't predict the future, but you can control what you do now. When you let go of yesterday and stop fearing tomorrow, you become untouchable. So how do you break free? First, recognize the illusion. The past and future only exist in your mind. Right now, neither are real. Second, practice presence. When your mind drifts to regret, stop. Shift your focus to what you're doing in that exact moment. When anxiety about the future creeps in, remind yourself, I will handle it when it comes. Right now, I am here. Third, act now. The present is the only place where change happens. Every moment spent in regret or fear is a moment stolen from action. If you want a different future, create it, but do it today. The past can't be rewritten. The future can't be predicted. But this moment is yours. Sixth, the world is chaotic, but you don't have to be. Life is unpredictable. One moment, everything is stable. The next, you're blindsided by an event that shakes your world. A financial loss, an unexpected betrayal, an illness, a sudden change. You don't get to control what happens, but you do control how you respond. Some people collapse under chaos. They panic, overthink, and react impulsively. Their emotions dictate their actions. They fight battles that don't need to be fought, worry about things beyond their control, and drain themselves over problems that could have been handled with clarity. Others? They remain still. While the storm rages around them, they hold their ground. Not because they don't feel anything, but because they know fear is a choice, anger is a choice, overreaction is a choice. And if they stay composed, they will always have the advantage. In every situation, there are two types of people: those who get swept away by external events and those who stand firm. One is a victim of circumstances. The other is in control of themselves, and therefore the situation. The Stoics understood this deeply. They trained their minds not to be dictated by the chaos of the world. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Marcus Aurelius ruled one of the greatest empires in history. He faced war, plague, and political betrayal. Yet, he remained calm. He journaled about controlling his thoughts, about choosing rationality over impulse, about not allowing external forces to shake his inner world. He knew chaos is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Imagine standing in the ocean. Waves crash against you, pushing you back. If you panic, if you fight the water, you exhaust yourself. You sink. But if you stay calm, if you move with the waves instead of against them, you float. That's life. You can't stop the waves, but you can control whether you drown. Most people let external stress consume them. Someone insults them, they react immediately. A small inconvenience happens, they let it ruin their entire day. Something unexpected occurs, they spiral into anxiety. They let the world dictate their emotions. Now think of the people who stay calm under pressure, the leaders who don't break under stress, the individuals who, no matter what happens, never lose their composure. They are not superhuman. They have simply mastered one skill: detachment from chaos. When something disrupts their life, they pause. They breathe. They assess the situation without emotion clouding their judgment. And because of that, they always make the better decision. I once knew someone who constantly lived on edge. If plans changed at the last minute, it ruined his mood. If traffic made him late, he'd explode with frustration. If someone disagreed with him, he took it as a personal attack. Every small event controlled him. He had no peace because he let everything affect him. One day he met a mentor, someone who never seemed fazed by anything. He asked, "How do you stay so calm? Don't you care?" The mentor smiled and said, "I care about what I can change. I let go of what I can't." That sentence changed him. He realized he had wasted years reacting to things that didn't matter, stressing over situations he couldn't control, fighting battles that didn't need to be fought. He had been drowning in waves that never stopped coming. So he made a decision. He would not fight the ocean anymore. He would learn to float. The next time something went wrong, he didn't react immediately. He paused. He asked himself, "Does this deserve my energy?" And in that moment, he felt freedom. Most people think staying calm means not caring. They couldn't be more wrong. Buddhist monks train for years to master stillness. They sit in silence, watching their thoughts without reacting. Why? Because a calm mind makes better decisions. Elite soldiers are trained to control their breathing under stress. In combat, panic gets you killed. Only those who stay composed survive. The ability to remain unshaken while the world around you is in chaos, that is power. So how do you cultivate this? Practice the pause. When something triggers you, don't react immediately. Breathe. Let the initial emotion pass before responding. Ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? Most of the time the answer is no. Detach from what you can't control. Focus only on your response. Everything else is just noise. Choose stillness. A calm mind is always stronger than a chaotic world. The world will never stop being unpredictable. There will always be stress, conflict, and things you didn't see coming. But you don't have to be affected. You can train your mind to be the eye of the storm, completely still while everything else rages on. Because when you master your emotions, nothing can break you. 7. Your circumstances are not your identity. Where you come from does not define you. What happens to you does not define you. The only thing that defines you is how you respond. Some people are born into privilege, others into struggle. Some face early success, others encounter setback after setback. But in the end, it's not the circumstances that determine their future, it's their mindset. History proves this. Some of the greatest leaders, innovators, and artists started with nothing. They weren't handed an easy life. They built one. They faced rejection, failure, and hardship. But instead of letting those moments define them, they used them. The Stoics believed that adversity is not a punishment, it's a test, a chance to prove who you really are. Epictetus was born a slave, yet he became one of the most influential Stoic philosophers in history. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor, but he still struggled with inner turmoil and external chaos. Their greatness was not in their circumstances, but in their ability to rise above them. And yet, most people today do the opposite. They let their past dictate their future. They tell themselves, I was born poor, so I'll always struggle. I failed before, so I'll never succeed. This is just the way life is for people like me. Lies. Lies that keep them trapped. Lies that convince them their story is already written. But the truth, your story is not written by your past. It's written by the choices you make right now. Imagine two people face the same tragedy. One loses everything and spirals into despair, blaming the world for his misfortune. The other loses everything, but instead of breaking, he builds. Same event, different mindset, different future. One remains stuck, waiting for life to change. The other changes his own life. This is the power of perspective. If you believe your hardships define you, you will live as a victim of them. If you see them as challenges to overcome, you become unstoppable. Life will test you. It will throw obstacles in your way. You will face moments where it feels like everything is working against you. But the question is, will you let those moments shape you, or will you shape them? A man once told me that failure broke him. He tried something, it didn't work, and from that moment on, he stopped trying. He convinced himself that because he had failed once, he would fail forever. He let one moment define him. Years later, he met someone who had failed 100 times but never stopped pushing forward. This person had been rejected, ridiculed, and knocked down at every turn. But each time, he got back up, and in the end, he won. The first man looked at him and asked, "How did you not give up?" The answer? Because I never believed failure meant the story was over. That was the moment he realized his failure wasn't the problem. His mindset was. Think of your life like a book. Your past? That's just the first few chapters. Your struggles? They're just plot twists. They do not dictate how the story ends. But if you stop turning the pages, if you let yourself believe that where you are now is all you'll ever be, you'll never know what happens next. The people who succeed are not the ones who had the easiest road. They are the ones who refuse to let obstacles define them. They saw setbacks as part of the process, not the end of the road. So ask yourself, are you letting your past write your future? If the answer is yes, then it's time to take back control. Here's how you do it. Rewrite your story. Stop saying, "This is just who I am." Start saying, "I get to decide who I become." Detach from labels. If society tells you you're not good enough, prove them wrong. If your past tells you you'll never make it, show it otherwise. Use every failure as fuel. The strongest people are not the ones who never failed. They are the ones who never stopped after failing. Master your response. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can always control how you react. Your circumstances are nothing more than a starting point. You decide where the road leads. So don't let your past hold you back. Let it push you forward. Life will never be without challenges. Chaos will always find its way to you. But what you choose to do with it, that is where your power lies. A trained mind is your greatest weapon. It gives you control over your emotions, clarity in decision-making, and resilience in the face of adversity. When you master your mind, nothing can shake you. We've explored the core principles of staying calm in any situation. Mastering your emotions before they control you. Breaking free from anger, finding strength in stillness. Choosing self-control, letting go of what you can't change. Embracing the present. And above all, refusing to let your circumstances define you. But knowing these lessons is not enough. You have to practice them. Every day, life will test you. Someone will try to provoke you, something will not go as planned. In those moments, stop. Breathe. Remember, you always have a choice. Will you react impulsively, or will you stay composed? Will you let external chaos dictate your inner world, or will you remain unshaken? Will you allow your past to define your future, or will you take back control? This is not a one-time decision. It's a lifelong practice. And with each day, each challenge, and each moment of self-awareness, you become stronger. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever faced a moment where staying calm changed everything? Share your story in the comments below. Let's learn from each other. Let's train our minds together, because when you control your mind, you control your life.